nunca. Cuando lo vean al
Tiene que ser de los tigres. ¿Cuál es? Pero yo no sé por qué se son.
Ella va a ser fiel.
¡Vale, impréndela!
Ella es fiel a los tigres.
Growing up as a missionary kid in the Dominican Republic, I ran on dirt streets and played with Hispanic dolls. I wasn't familiar with Martin Luther King, James Baldwin, or Malcolm X until high school. My life was about fried plátanos con salami, the game of jacks, and regular trips to the river. I knew at a young age that I was African American, but in my neighborhood, I was Dominicana. In fact, when I would tell people I was North American, I was met with disbelief and ridicule. How can you be North American when you look and speak just like us? You are one of us, they would exclaim. Upon arrival in Ecuador, I had the faulty expectation that due to my upbringing in the Dominican Republic, cultural adaptation would be easy. I felt I knew Caribbean culture, and therefore, Latino culture. I figured there would be minor differences. Perhaps Ecuadorians use different condiments on their food, and their Spanish dialect would be slightly unfamiliar. But nothing I couldn't grow accustomed to. Moving in with my host family and spending the first couple of months exploring the culture, I had a rude awakening. Ecuadorian culture was very different from Dominican culture, and I didn't know nearly as much as I thought I did. In my experience, Dominicans are very loud, boisterous, and expressive. The culture is one of direct communication and confrontation. Dominican food is rich with Caribbean spices and seasonings. Dominicans clap when they laugh, with the occasional stomp if they're standing while laughing. I soon realized that in the highlands of Ecuador, many locals had a very non-confrontational, reserved, and private communication style. For the most part, Ecuadorians did everything in their power to avoid confrontation and disappointing others. I learned that yes means maybe, and of course means I don't know. Quechua, an indigenous language heavily integrated into Ecuadorian Spanish, was completely new to me. Corner stores were tiendas, not colmados. I learned that garbage can is basurero and not zafacón. Papaya is never referred to as lechosa, and banana is plátano, not Guineo. Somewhere inside, I knew South American culture would be different, but I wasn't fully ready to learn just how different. My mistaken belief that all Latin cultures were pretty much the same made integration in the initial months really difficult. For the first time, I was seen as a foreigner. In Ecuador, I was always asked where I was from, implying that I couldn't possibly be from Ecuador. I had never been the center of attention like this, and I didn't like it. All of my life, I have considered myself Afro-Latina, but it felt like that part of my identity was not validated by Ecuadorians. There, I was gringa. I was extranjera. I was not a fellow Latina, and it hurt. It was as though the 70% of my life spent in Latin America didn't count. My Dominican identity took a big hit as my vocabulary was scrutinized and corrected on a daily basis. I didn't know if I should adapt or fight for my own Spanish culture and dialect. Navigating through the interrogations and having to constantly explain my diverse background got really exhausting. It took nearly a year to finally become comfortable with navigating these conversations and standing firm in my Latin identity and experience. The longer I stayed in my community, the more I was able to educate coworkers, friends, and students on ethnic diversity, especially the diversity that exists within the United States of America. This difficult experience taught me to fight for my own story and identity, and despite the hardship, I am grateful. I learned that Latinos are Guineo and Platano, basurero and zafacón. We are humid heat, high altitude, and palm trees. We are papaya. We are lechosa.